Because it literally powers up every electronic device in your car, the ignition switch is a crucial component of your vehicle. As a result, you may also realize that any issue with this tiny component has the potential to seriously harm your vehicle. In this short video, we're going to be talking about the symptoms of a bad ignition switch and its replacement cost. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. Car won't start. There should be two phases that occur when you turn the key in the ignition. Turning on the ignition is the first step. The ignition should remain on when you turn it a little bit further, but the ignition switch should also signal the starter motor to start. When the key is turned, an electrical component inside the ignition switch connects electrical circuits. Your car won't start at all if any of these two steps are missing, and it may struggle with this small part if it is worn out. This may result in the starter turning the engine on without starting it, or in the starter dying entirely. Blinking dashboard or other accessories. The lights on your dashboard or other electrical accessories inside your car may also be blinking or intermittently turning on and off. This indicates a malfunctioning ignition switch connection plate, which could be brought on by wear or corrosion. Usually, there is no way to fix this, and you will need to replace the ignition switch. Fortunately, replacing the ignition switch rather than the entire ignition lock is frequently possible. Key won't switch ignition on. If your ignition still won't turn on, it's possible that your key can fit inside the barrel and turn. If there is enough charge in the car's battery, this would point to a malfunctioning ignition switch. Certain ignition switches enable the electrical component on the key barrel's back to be changed separately from the barrel itself. It is more typical, nevertheless, for the complete ignition switch to be offered for sale as a single unit. Key won't turn. This is a typical flaw in keys with a more cylindrical-shaped blade design. The grooves and notches eventually smooth out and round off. Because of this, the key is unable to accurately reposition the different pins inside the barrel. The key will not turn if the pins are not shifted into place. Once more, if you notice that the key blade is rounded, try to get it replaced as soon as possible because this is a fault that frequently gradually gets worse and worse. Ignition is constantly turned on. Say you were driving your car and you wanted to turn it off. The car is still running when you turn off the ignition and take out the key, which surprises you. Although it is rare, a malfunctioning ignition switch may be the cause of this. The car will function properly even without the keys in the ignition if the immobilizer is only unlocked once and does not need to detect the key again until the engine is restarted. Car stalls while driving. The ignition may turn off when it shouldn't if there is a problem with the switch's connection. This may result in an abrupt car shutdown while you are driving. Examining your dashboard is the simplest way to determine the cause of this. There's a good chance that there's a problem with your ignition switch if all of the dashboard lights go out simultaneously with the engine of your car. Replacement cost. The typical cost to replace an ignition switch ranges from $120 to $250. Depending on the type of vehicle and labor costs. While labor costs range from $100 to $200, an ignition switch only costs $20 to $50. The ignition switch alone will probably need to be replaced if your car is a little older. In this scenario, the switch should cost between $20 and $50. Certain car models require the replacement of the ignition lock barrel entirely, which increases the cost of the repair. Unfortunately, this type of repair will frequently cost more than $1,000. Because the part is typically only available through the vehicle's manufacturer and specialist coding is required.